Hello, everybody. I'm Louis Savy. I'm one of the creative directors on the new John Carter Warlord of Mars video game, and sitting in another part of the world, but with me here on this video is my partner, Frazer Nash. So hello, Frazer.
Hello, I'm Frazer, and today Louis will take charge going forwards with the questions, and I'll respond to the questions unless I have one that relates to him answering a question.
So the first question is, what's the combat going to be like in the game?
Well, it's going to be two mixtures. On Earth, it'll be your standard weapons, handguns, rifles, machine guns, rocket launchers, usual stuff for Second World War. When we get to Mars, on the other hand, that will definitely be sword play, with an element of guns as well, because they did have sidearms as well. But under the rules of whatever weapon you choose, you have to continue fighting with. We may not stick to that, but we are going to go with swords mostly on Mars.
I do love the bullets in the in Barsoom that they have that react to light. I think they're such a cool idea, that they explode on contact with sunlight. So another question that's come up a few times is what's the gore level like? How bloody and nasty is it going to be?
Okay, so gory. In the books, it's very much placed in your imagination when you're reading it, and the books can be quite gory, let's be honest. And as we know, games also have an 18 rating and that it can be gory. But I think we're probably going to reduce the goriness in the game, because we want everyone to play this game and not just a certain age group, because we want everyone to fall in love with John Carter.
So another question we've got, Frazer, is people want to know why we've gone for a single player and we're not doing a combat game that involves multiplayer and MMOGs and all that kind of stuff. Can you say something to that?
We've opted to go with a single player storyline. Following like the book, it's all about John Carter. Our game is all about John Carter. It's not saying in the future we won't have like DLCs where you can play John Carter with another one of the characters from the books, like Wooler, where the two of you go off and do a task. But at the moment, I think it's more important that we get people to understand who John Carter is, who then may go back and pick up the books and then find the love that we have for the John Carter character as well. So that's why it's a single player story-led book game.
Yeah. And just so everyone knows, we have also been talking about having some side missions and some other types of games that would feature characters like Tars Tarkas and Dejasaurus, and then you would be able to play those characters in a sort of separate game to John Carter himself, but basically very much within the universe. So I hope that gives you some idea of what we're thinking.
But we do have to have the main character, but his story arcs is all about John Carter.
And the first game is called John Carter, Warlord of Mars. There we go. So you've said that we've gone for a first-person shooter. Why? Why did we do that?
Well, one is I love first-person shooters, and you should always do the things that you love. I mean, there's no point doing something that you don't love. And second is, our game on Earth is first-person shooter because there's lots of stealth in it. There's lots of hiding behind places and coming out and shooting from the side. When you get to Mars, we will give you the ability to go from first to third. And the reason why that is, with melee weapons, with swords, actually sometimes it's best to come out of the first person and go to the third. So we will, but only on Mars we will do that, because you're using swords.
We've had a few questions in about from people asking why they haven't seen much of the other characters, and especially some of the creatures. I say creature, Tars Tarkas, for instance, the Tharks of Mars, or the Red Men, the Green Men of Mars. Can you say something to that?
Yeah, the reason being is, having looked at the programming on this, having 2 arms in a game is relatively simple using weapons, but having 4 and the science that you have to do for the boning for the extra 2 arms, and then all the animation for the extra 2 arms, means it is not just an easy process, it's a long process. So this is why we also need those funds for this game to actually spend time in building the science to make this work and to make it exciting and actually real to the book. as in using the
Yeah.
4 arms.
Yeah, and the 10 legs and so on for the various other creatures, to make them feel as real as possible. And that kind of leads into another question, which we've been asked, which is about gravity, or at least about the difference between John Carter of Earth and John Carter on Mars, given that there's a different environment. He's a superhuman when he's on Mars. And as we all know, he was a big influence on Jerry Spiegel in creating the Superman character. So can we talk a little bit about the mechanics of how John Carter may work on Mars?
Totally. We actually have already been testing the jump. On Earth, he will have the standard body weight. So he's no Superman. He's no, he's not, can jump over buildings and do the usual stuff. He's just a normal human being. When he gets to Mars, then things change because he's lighter than everybody else because he's been not having the pressure of the planet holding him down. So he's going to be able to do longer jumps. He's going to be stronger than everybody else. He won't be able to fight off 100 as like in the books. Eventually he always gets knocked down and tied up in some sections of the book because he can't fight everyone. But just like us, that's how we want this to be. We want the different elements for the 2 styles of game. We've got Earth, which is very solid, very first-person shooter. Mars, you can jump around. You've got real strong strength. You don't see, this Clark Kent, when he was on his own kryptonite, he wasn't a superhero. He was like everybody else. He comes to Earth, and boy, pants on the outside, and he can jump over tall buildings.
Yeah. The other thing, though, to bear in mind, as we've been developing the mechanics and the ideas for the game, is that what we don't want to do is throw you into some sort of deep learning process when you arrive on Mars, and that you're going to start failing and the game gets boring because you can't master some joystick or some key things that you have to do at a super speed, otherwise it doesn't work. So there'll be some physics to learn, some things, some abilities that you have to get a grasp on. But what we don't want to do is spend too much time with you having to develop that. We're just going to give you the ability to have a good feel for how it would be as if you were leaping 30 foot in the air instead of 5 foot in the air.
Yeah, because honestly, you don't want to spend the first 45 minutes of the game learning how to walk. You just want to go.
Some people might. Some people might, but that's not what we want in our game.
No, it's not exactly. Because I want us to get straight into the action. I want us to get straight into the story. Okay. Yeah.
Cool.
We decided to make our game, very pacey, but also has a huge element of stealth in there as well. We don't want a game that's just racing from start to end. We have a story about John Carter when he's on Earth and things that he has to do to accomplish certain tasks. And there are moments when he's in a fight and he's using weapons and he's using his fists, right? But there are moments when he's sneaking around and trying to find things as well. And actually the same thing happens on Mars, except the only difference is it's the melee and it's a weapon of a sword. But there are going to be moments, as you know, where he has to stealth and he can't get into buildings.
Yeah, for those again who've read the books and know Princess of Mars, there's an awful lot of things that he has to do in hiding and sneaking around the back. And there's the scene with Tal Hadji's, and there's lots of places that he needs to sneak and break into. So by doing a lot of that on Earth, you've kind of set him up, showing the skill sets that he's got when he's on Mars and why some of those things feel much more natural to him. Whereas obviously in the book, we don't know any of that. We just know that he was a soldier in the Civil War. So the pace is it's gonna jump around a little bit, right? It's gonna be a kind of linear story. You follow the action, you get led in certain directions, and some moments you're going to be in a high-speed chase, moments you're going to be stealthy and quiet, and it's going to be a mix of stuff. Would you say that was right?
I'd say that's totally right. And what I would like people to do who don't know John Carter, who may be looking at our Kickstarter and curious, please go and get the book and read it. right?
Yeah.
And then you'll see why we are excited to be bringing this to a game, because he's been used in many guises in other things, but never John Carter on his own.